Have you ever heard a baby crying in the middle of a dark forest? If you ever do, no matter how real it sounds, never answer it, because the people who did were never seen the same again. This story happened to a man named Ethan, who loved camping alone. One cold autumn evening, he decided to spend the night deep inside Black Pine Woods, a place surrounded by old trees, thick fog, and strange local legends. The villagers always warned visitors about one thing. They said, if you hear a baby crying after midnight, don't follow the sound, don't call out, and never answer it. Ethan laughed at the warning. He believed every scary story had a logical explanation. As the night became darker, the forest turned completely silent. Even the insects stopped making noise. Ethan sat beside his campfire, drinking coffee while the cold wind slowly blew through the trees. Then, exactly at 3 a.m., he heard it. A baby crying somewhere in the darkness. It sounded weak, frightened, and very close. Ethan stood up immediately. Who would leave a baby out here? He whispered. He grabbed his flashlight and walked toward the sound. Every few seconds the crying stopped, then started again from a different direction. It was almost as if the forest itself was moving the sound. Ethan kept walking deeper between the trees until he realized something strange. He could no longer see his campsite. The fire had disappeared behind the thick fog. Suddenly the crying stopped. Everything became silent again. Then a tiny voice spoke from behind him. Can you help me? Ethan quickly turned around, but nobody was there. His flashlight began to flicker. His heartbeat became faster. He slowly backed away, trying to remember which direction he had come from. Then the baby cried again, this time only a few feet away. Ethan could not ignore it. Where are you? He shouted. The crying instantly stopped. A few seconds later, something answered him in a deep voice that sounded nothing like a baby. Thank you for answering. Ethan froze. The cold air suddenly became unbearable. He noticed tall shadows moving between the trees, even though there was no wind. His flashlight went completely dark. In the blackness, dozens of glowing white eyes slowly opened all around him. Soft footsteps circled him from every direction. Then he heard another baby cry, and another, until hundreds of crying voices echoed through the forest at once. Ethan covered his ears and started running blindly. Branches scratched his face, roots grabbed his feet, and strange whispers followed him through the darkness. Every whisper repeated his name. Ethan. Ethan, come back. He finally saw the faint glow of his campfire in the distance. He sprinted toward it with everything he had left. Just before reaching the fire, he felt something grab his backpack. He pulled free without looking back and jumped into the campsite. The moment he crossed the circle of light, every sound disappeared. The forest became completely silent again. At sunrise, Ethan packed his things and drove away without stopping once. He promised himself he would never return. A week later, he looked through the pictures on his camera from that night. Most were normal until the final photo. It showed Ethan standing alone in the forest. But behind him were dozens of pale children with empty black eyes, all smiling directly at the camera. At the bottom of the picture, hidden between the trees, was a tall, dark figure holding a baby that had no face. Ethan deleted every photo, burned all of his camping gear, and never spoke about that night again. But people who visit Black Pine Woods still tell the same story. They say that every night at exactly 3 a.m., a baby begins crying somewhere deep in the forest. If you ignore it, you might make it home. But if you answer, something will answer back, and it will follow you forever. So if you ever hear a crying baby in the woods when no one else is around, remember this story. Stay silent, turn around, and never answer. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more terrifying stories every week.